So even if they have that, they have to have more. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today's nonsense is in Historic, as usual, and we are playing some Mothrider tokens. Look out, folks. New Alchemy set is dropped, and Mothrider Cavalry is one heck of a magic card. White, 2. Flying, 2/2. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. It's a fine card. It's not amazing, but it's a fine card, right? Other creatures, no stipulations on this. Not other samurais get +1/+1 or not. No. All of your creatures, no matter their creature type, get +1/+1. There's more text. This spell costs 2 less if you either have no creatures in hand or only other Mothrider Cavalries in hand. So this is, in this deck, it is almost exclusively a 2-mana, 2/2 flying, other creatures you control get +1/+1. Because, folks, we're playing tokens. You'll note, in the main, there are 6 creatures. There's the 4 Mothriders and just 2 Tin Street Cadets. These are goblins, and whenever it becomes blocked, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. Why are these in here? Well, because we are, at the core of this deck, we are very aggressive. We want to get in early, get in often, get our damage in, and get right back on to the next game, right? So there aren't enough good 1-mana token producers out there, in my opinion, that don't come on a body. This is kind of the one we wanted for what it gives us, kind of its pseudo unblockability, and especially once it becomes a 2/2 with Mothrider Cavalry, you do have to block it eventually, right? Or theoretically. So it's a fine card to have. There were other options, but typically the ones that make us spend mana or ones where it has to die first just mean it's unblockable forever, right? So this one, particularly people that maybe think this card is something else, there are a lot of cards that look just like this that see play in the format, and they might go, oh, crud, well, you know, what are you doing? And kind of catching them off guard here. I think this is a solid choice, but it's the only other creatures in the main besides the Mothrider Cavalries. This is it, folks. This is all the creatures. But, of course, there's always more to the story. Satyr's Cunning. Single red, you can add a Satyr that you can't block. Legion's Landing. Just a single mana, but you get a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Raise the Alarm. Instant. Create 2 1/1 white spirits. White soldiers. Forbidden Friendship. Sorcery. Add 2 creatures, one with haste, one without, for 2 mana. Krenko's Command. Sorcery. Add 2 creatures, right? You see what we're doing here. Omen of the Sun. Another flash card. Create 2 1/1 white humans, gain 2 life, and then we can sacrifice it later to scry as well. But here is some more secret sauce, folks. You see a Pair of Goblins. 3 mana, instant, very important. You get to choose one. Either create 2 goblins, which is nice, and that's why it's here, right? Or creatures you control get +2/+0 until the end of turn. So this is more Lord effect style stuff, right? And this also doesn't matter if they're tokens or not. So it buffs our Mothrider Cavalries and our Tin Street Cadets, as well as tokens, you know, as well, right? So if they're all just 1/1s and we have whatever, 4 1/1s, being able to crash in for 12 damage just out of nowhere is pretty strong, right? When we're able to go as wide as we are. But this is also nice because later on in the game, you know, if our opponents, let's say we're on the draw, our opponent's on the play, they can maybe anger the gods on turn 3. And we're just like, well, I guess we're out of luck, right? Well, okay, you see a Pair of Goblins can still help us rebuild after our opponent has swept our board, as well as just finish the game in other instances as well. And then the only other real secret sauce we've got here is Intangible Virtue. And this is important secret sauce. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance. You'll note, just all of these cards produce tokens. Not figuratively, folks, literally. Every one of these cards produces tokens. So when Intangible Virtue is just 2 mana, Anthem the team, give it Vigilance, it's very strong. And being an enchantment, it's a little more difficult to interact with, right? So +1/+1 here, +1/+1 here, and this technically is normally a 2-drop, right? Almost exclusively a 2-drop. And then these can give them +2/+1 to the end of turn. As far as the lands, yes, we're running rare lands here. The more rare lands you run, the less often you run into mana problems, the more games you're going to win. This deck can be built without them, but they're important for just helping increase our win rate. Sokenzan, you can discard it and create 2 1/1 colorless spirits. Kind of nice. Just a land that also can give us spirits if we draw it later on in the game. And Eiganjo, of course, interaction as well as just a land. So that said, folks, let's see if we can get some wins. All right, folks, here we are up against Janango. Good luck, Janango. Yep. I think this is a keepable hand. We don't have any of our synergies yet. Hey, there we go. That's a good one. I was going to say, we don't have any of our synergies yet, but there are a bunch of them, so it wouldn't be unreasonable to hope to find one. Naturally, our first matchup is going to be against Life Gain, which there is no way this is a favorable matchup. All right, let's... I mean, it's clearly Angels. Oh, boy. Are Poe going to give us a dude? Did not expect that. I figured let's scoot a couple of damage, try and keep them off of that. You know, once they get up to a certain life threshold, typically about 27, makes it very, very difficult, right? So, just trying to keep their life total down. I was intending to hit him for 2, you know? Our opponent, having not read Tin Street Cadet, blocked it and gave us a 1/1. So we folks would really, really like another land here. Did not get one. Opponent foretelling even more. I have to assume that means they're stuck on lands as well. So, yay! But that is also very likely a board sweeper. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise the alarm here because I think we have to. Do we just... Intangible Virtue, actually? I was going to flip it, but I think we would rather just get in a lot more damage here. And this will also help us rebuild just a little bit later. Theoretically. Yeah, okay, well, Janango never did get their third land. Admittedly, we didn't either. But one of these decks could perform much more readily in those adverse conditions than the other, it appears. So, GG, opponent. Alright, folks, here we are up against Spike 32. Good luck, Spike 32. Yeah, I think this is a keepable hand. Going to start on Inspiring Vantage. And go to Tin Street Cadet. Because remember, folks, having a creature in hand thing is a little awkward with our Mothrider Cavalries. We don't want to, you know, have to hold on to those. So, yeah. Okay, well. If our opponent had that untapped, we would do the second main phase. But we can just shortcut and get it done right now. Get him for 1. Opponent going to erase our Intangible Virtue. Oh, man, that's a bummer. Yeah. Our opponent was on Steam Vents. We naturally assumed some kind of, like, Phoenix or something like that, you know, but... serious bummer there. This is a little bit tough. I think we're just going to go with the one out of the graveyard. We don't have any way to get these things back anyway. So, that way, if we get... You know, we'll have decisions next turn, right? See a pair of goblins. Interesting. Yeah. We're just gonna go ahead and get our damage in. Opponent, way down on life. At 4, we are presenting lethal. And they can't do it. Hey! Man, I was a little bit worried there about feeling a little bit like we're going all in when you know, we didn't actually have the win, but we did put him in an awkward situation, and sure enough, GG. All right, folks, we're going to keep it. That's why we're here. Doing the thing. No, not another Llanowar Elves deck. No. All right, tapped. Folks, whenever a Llanowar Elves deck gets to be on the play, it doesn't matter what they're doing. It is ridiculously powerful. They're so far ahead. Look at this. Yeah, they have 6 permanents in play, and we have a tapped land, you know? Like, it doesn't matter how quickly we advance the board. We're just so far behind now, you know? I guess Krenko's command. Pass the turn. Alright. On Crop Crasher. Yeah, wow, folks. Our opponent is here for it, let me tell you. Going to exert. Yep. Oh, we'll block. Take a good chunk of damage here. And yeah, we're going to grab a Mothrider Cavalry. Not going to attack. We're going to hold back. See what our opponent has to say. If they have actual removal, we're pretty dead. If they have Embercleave, we're pretty dead. You know, we've got to keep the Mothrider Cavalry around to have a shot. Then we've got to be able to play. Okay. Yeah. That was pretty unfortunate there. Sure. Yeah. This stinks. This stinks. I mean, feels bad. I don't know why they didn't do that before, you know? Yeah. All right, you got us. GG. Wish we'd been on the play there. I think we crushed them if we were on the play, but as it happens, we were not, and we are dead. So GG, GG. All right, folks, here we are up against We Will Carry You, and this hand is really stinking awkward, but I think we're going to keep it. We don't have that many lands in the deck, all things considered, and almost everything else left in the deck is going to be token producing. There's only one more Tin Street Cadet. There's 2 more Intangible Virtue, obviously, because there are 4. And then there are some Mothrider Cavalries, but getting more Mothrider Cavalries isn't bad either. Like, we don't want this to happen. For the record. We do not need more lands, Dak. We do not need more lands. But, you know, it is what it is. Because Mothrider Cavalries do buff each other as well. So, and they're flying. Oh my gosh, Dak, please stop. Please stop. So as long as we draw into anything else in our deck besides all these freaking lands, for the love of all things holy, please don't give me more lands. We should be in pretty good shape. Opponent pops over Mia, the Crafty Companion. For the love of all things holy, please stop. Opponent gonna give us a free token? Hey, thank you, opponent. That is very kind of you. Now, they might just be getting ready to sweep the board, so they don't care. Like, just give us a token or whatever, you know. My presumption is that they're going to be doing... Okay. That is a thing. Sacred Foundry tapped. Go on ahead. The Omen of the Sun, definitely the sort of thing we're looking for. Definitely not surprised to get it. We have a roughly infinite number of these in our deck, you know. Okay. I don't think we just jam it here. I think we're going to do these and have better attacks next turn. See, we would trade in a 3/3 to get 3 damage in. They would go down to 12, but then we'd lose one of our 3/3s. Here, this is a much, much better plan. As long as they don't have just another sweeper immediately, we're, you know, this is much better attacks. Opponent doing Lazavi things. I assume our opponent's going to be doing, like, Kroxa. Yeah, that's inconvenient. Hey. Alright, that's a good one. Because one of those has haste. Alright, get in. Opponent. They get a free block. Yep. They're going to trade Lazav? There's no way that's right. Unless they have another one. I guess they could have another one in hand. Why aren't they giving up the Oath or Forsworn Paladin? Okay, they are. Alright. Alright. Then I guess we will Satyr's Cunning. If they have another board sweeper, we feel pretty bad about this. But we want to be able to present lethal through a blocker or two. And, you know, I think this is just the best course of action. Sure enough, they did have a Kroxa in hand, but that is not good enough. GG, we will carry you. GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Dievma. Good luck, Dievma. And yeah, we're going to keep it. This is a keepable hand. We're going to go ahead and start on Tin Street Cadet. Oh, boy, our opponent's on Kahira. I wonder if they're on, like, creatureless control. Or if this is actually, you know, an elemental, cat, beast, dinosaur, nightmare style deck, you know? We'll see. My guess is creatureless control. Because, of course, if every creature card in your deck is cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, beast, you can use Kahira. Or you could just have no creatures. And it's, by definition, qualifies as your companion, you know? We'll find out pretty soon. Opponent deep in the tank on the mulligan decision does go down to 6. We're going to start on Tin Street Cadet. Pass the turn. See what our opponent has to say about that. It goes Steam Vents. So most likely, folks, going to be the creatureless control style thing. Yeah. Well, raise the alarm. Legion's Landing. Opponent lets it resolve. I'm going to kill one of our creatures now. Just disenchant. Okay, just disenchants it. Okay. Alright, get in there. Hit Dievma. They drop to 16. Play a land. Is it a board sweeper? Sweltering Suns or something? No. Well, I would love to resolve Intangible Virtue here, but I'm afraid they're just going to sweep our board next turn. So we're not going to do that. We're going to plan on Raise the Alarm on their turn, so that we will be able to untap an Intangible Virtue and still be able to swing pretty hard, you know, even through the board sweeper, right? Man, this stinks. Yeah, Lightning Helix, a powerful card, folks. No question about it. Yeah, it was, as we had feared. Oh boy, is our opponent missing a land drop? That would be fantastic. Opponent drops to 11, your go. March of Otherworldly Light again. Sacred Foundry, inconvenient, man. Yeah. It is, March of Otherworldly Light. Number 3. Alright, well, Mothrider Cavalry. Come on down. Our opponent does not know, but we are presenting lethal as long as Intangible Virtue resolves. So we're also going to present lethal with Forbidden Friendship here. So now they probably have to have a counter here. They do. Do you have another counter? Of course, we wanted the Intangible Virtue more than we wanted the Forbidden Friendship. They don't have a counter, but they do have a way of killing our Mothrider, which feels bad, but is what it is. We are still presenting lethal this turn. So our opponent has to have even more answers. So far, they have not had anything but answers. No card draw or anything. But that doesn't mean they don't have more answers, right? That's the way that works. So, you know, when your opponent's playing control. Opponent shocks in the Hallowed Fountain for some reason. What have you got? Both of these are now lethal. Oh, Archmage's Charm. They needed the extra blue mana. I see. Yeah, I guess we're going to do this. Not going to play the land. There's no reason to. We'll just hang on. A little sketchy, folks, but Our opponent doesn't have very many cards left, right? They can't even add Kahira to hand and cast it to save themselves, that sort of play. They've got to be able to kill everything. So Archmage's Charm gets a land, and not going to be enough. Sure enough, I was going to say, even if they have, let's say, Lightning Helix would be a good card in this matchup because we're pretty aggressive, so gaining life is good, and killing a creature, very good. They've already done that once this game. But it doesn't get them out here. If they kill a creature, gain 3 life, go to 4. So even if they have that, they have to have more. So March of Otherworldly Light, getting rid of Intangible Virtue is great, except we still kill them, right? Any one card that was not, you know, Anger the Gods style sweeper or something, just not going to be good enough. So GG, Devma, GG. All right, folks, we are up against the Void. Oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna keep this. We're going to shock in the Sacred Foundry here. As much as I don't like doing that in the blind, you know, you never know. Oh boy. Yeah, no, we still should, because we don't want to be able to, or we don't want to telegraph that we have instant speed things later on in the game. Oh boy. All right, so our opponent's on mono brown. It is a race, folks. It's a race. And oh boy, well, then in that case, you got it. Let's do this thing. We can actually get in an extra point of damage here while still getting 2 creatures down instead of having the raise the alarm. We don't expect a board sweeper this turn, you know. Anything's possible, but we don't expect that. Looks like Key the Archive doing its thing. Opponent discards a Treasure Vault, unsurprisingly. So, yep. I guess. Mothrider Cavalry, come on down. Combat, get in. Transform the Legion's Landing. And pass. Gonna plan on raising the alarm this turn. And this is presenting lethal. Our opponent may or may not know that. They likely do. They likely know that they need to get rid of the Mothrider Cavalry. Okay, they have Electrolyze. That's not great for us, for sure. But it's also not the end of the world. This is on blue, yeah. Alright. So, raise the alarm. Oh, hey, never mind. We still have lethal. Intangible Virtue. Mothrider Cavalry number 2. Gotcha. GG, Void. GG. We got him. We got him. All right, folks. We are back. We are back. And, man, those were some wild games, to be sure. I'm not sure what all games we're going to get to show you on things. We're going to try and make them as exciting as possible, you know. But, man, it was a great time. According to my tapped out, I don't know. I've been trying to keep track of all the games I played and all that kind of thing. But my note keeping is a little different than my tapped out. And I'm tempted to believe my tapped out, but I'm also a little bit doubting it because I'm pretty sure I have video evidence that my tapped out is messed up. So I don't know what's happening, folks. The tapped out says we won 63% of our games. We went 50-50 on the draw, and we won 75% of the games on the play. According to tapped out. But I'm pretty sure we actually won 3 games against Grixis. And this is only showing 1 game against Blue-Black and 1 game against Grixis. So, I don't know. I'm pretty sure we've actually got another win here on top of that. So, we were probably more like, you know, 66, 67% win rate. So, really can't complain. Especially considering, folks, this is, after a fashion, a budget deck. Yes, okay. The main source of rares is here in the land base. This deck can be built without them. You want to avoid tap lands as much as possible because we're very, very aggressive, but you can absolutely build this deck and get some wins without them. And like Eiganjo is almost never going to be activated. This is purely just here for the luxury. In none of the games, we played 9 games, we did not one time use Eiganjo's ability. We never once used Sokenzan's ability. I would say this is more important, so if we're flooding out just a little bit, it can flood the board with more tokens, so get this before this. But it's, you know, fine. The rest of these just helping us cast our spells. They're important. Your win rate will increase ever so, you know, ever so much for every single one of these you add to your land base. So understand the deck gets better than if it's just basic lands and that's it. But this is where most of your rares are, because all these are rares. Without, if you discount the lands, there are 4 mythics, Mothrider Cavalries. Uncommon, common, 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 uncommon, common, and I believe this is also considered a common. It might be an uncommon, I'm not sure. It's one of the arena-only cards. So the only other rares in the entire deck besides the lands are just the Legion's Landings, and then, so 4 rares, 4 mythic rares as far as the actual castable cards in the entire deck. Folks, I don't know how else to label this besides a budget deck. You will absolutely be able to get wins with this deck. The better you play, the more wins you will get. It's going to be true. But at its core, this is not challenging. There are a couple cards in the sideboard that you could consider for this deck as well. Just for your land count, being able to have another overrun effect. So consider the Mankindy Stampede. It didn't make it to the deck because I didn't feel like we needed it. Similarly, Shatterskull Smashing, if you've got them hanging out, might be better, you know, particularly if you don't have enough of the Inspiring Vantage pathways and Sacred Foundries, and you're just like, yeah, my land base is pretty weak. You could consider doing this over a land, recognizing you're going to have to bolt it in every so often, but you'll also get some interaction, so it's fine as well. Again, I don't think it's necessary, and in general, I would rather have the dual lands to make sure we can cast our spells on time every time, so I didn't include it either. And the Heroic Reinforcements is just a very, very powerful 4-drop. Currently, we have no 4-drops in the deck. Because, again, Mothrider Cavalry, always a 2-drop. There's only 2 other creatures in the entire deck. If you have this and this in your hand, cast this first, and then this becomes a 2-drop, right? So it's never a 4-drop. So I decided to be more aggressive. But make no mistake, folks, Heroic Reinforcements, easily a game-ending card on its own regularly. Create 2 tokens, and then give your entire team 1/1 in haste. Very, very powerful ability. So if, you know, maybe you wanted to try out the build a different way, you could easily do these as well. That's a fine choice to make. But other than that, folks, the deck was great. It was truly awesome. We had a lot of really, really good games, and it was a blast to play. I intend to probably play this on stream at some point, so tune in then. In the meantime, though, you folks have a fantastic day, and I will catch you next time.